Chapter 17.
With the passage of weeks, and as October neared its end, Draco found himself grappling with two unsettling realizations. Firstly, he was increasingly losing the courage to confess the truth to Severus. Secondly, he may have inadvertently hindered Granger from becoming acquainted with Potter and Weasley. Halloween became a pivotal moment, a clear signal that he could no longer ignore his inaction. That morning, he mustered enough resolve to approach a professor for guidance, choosing McGonagall instead of Severus, fearing arousing Sev's suspicions or enduring the nerve-wracking scrutiny of looking at Albus Dumbledore for more than a brief moment. Such encounters often left him on the brink of panic or rushing off to relieve his queasy stomach in privacy. Hence, he lingered after Transfiguration class with the Hufflepuffs, contemplating alerting her to the possibility of a troll within the castle that night just to gauge the response. "Mr. Malfoy? Is there something I can assist you with?" She hadn't appeared particularly fond of him since the incident during flying lessons. A bit inconsistent, given it had led to her acquiring a seeker. "I have a question, Professor. Not concerning Transfiguration," he began, carefully crafting the guise of an innocent first-year student, "but I wasn't sure who else to consult. You see, my aspiration after completing my education is to become an unspeakable." McGonagall's expression softened slightly, a hint of amusement playing at her lips. "Indeed, Mr. Malfoy, I seem to recall you mentioning that ambition on more than one occasion." She was poking a little fun at him, but he feigned naivety, reading her words as sincere. "That's right, Professor, and I understand that time travel is among the topics unspeakable study. So, I've been looking into it quite a bit." McGonagall appeared intrigued for the first time, reclining in her chair. "Time travel, Mr. Malfoy?" "Yes, I have more than a passing familiarity with the subject. Indeed, I may be the most knowledgeable person at Hogwarts on the matter." The fact that Hogwarts included Dumbledore didn't go unnoticed. Yet McGonagall wasn't one to boast without cause. "I've gone through a lot of material, but a tale in a fiction book is troubling me. The protagonist doesn't follow the standard time travel route. He's 32, travels back 10 years, and finds his mind in his 22-year-old self. And what happens to the 22-year-old's consciousness?" McGonagall inquired promptly. Draco squirmed at a question he should have pondered sooner. "I suspect traveling like that is improbable, but if it were, how drastically could the traveler alter the past? How would such a process function? Moreover, the hero predicts it's impossible to return. Do you believe it would be?" McGonagall smiled, seemingly pleased with the speculative nature of the discussion. She mused, flicking her wand to levitate two pencils, coloring one red and the other blue before casting a Spungify spell to soften them into pliable, colored leads. "See, Potter, witness the proper application of that spell. A fascinating puzzle, Mr. Malfoy. Let's assume the blue thread represents the original timeline until the moment the traveler's mind exits into the past, and the red signifies the new timeline beginning when the mind re-enters its younger body." With a tap of her wand, an eraser transformed into a small pink figure. "Do you follow?" Draco approached the desk, handling the threads after she lowered them. Prior to traveling, he murmured, "Post-traveling," observing them thoughtfully. He then positioned the red line parallel yet offset from the blue, keeping their lengths identical but aligning the blue closer to him, with the red commencing and concluding later. "May I?" he requested, grabbing another pencil, and marked arbitrary points on the desk as 32 at the blue's end and 22 at the red start, midway on the blue line. He coded them mentally as 11 and 18. Afterward, he guided the pink figure along from the base to the terminate of the blue. "He's born," Draco narrated, "experiences life conventionally within this one timeline, unlike the majority, but upon reaching 32, he regresses to age 22, initiating the second timeline. Thus, the initial timeline terminates at 32, and the secondary timeline begins at 22. "A well-deduced explanation, Mr. Malfoy," McGonagall commended. "Visual aids can be insightful. So, By your representation, the first blue line is devoid of a future, while the first red lacks a past. She paused, amused as Draco retrieved a notebook to jot notes, proposing a question Granger never seemed to brave. Invisible ink. Yes, Professor, Draco confirmed, glancing up with anticipation, pencil poised. Indicating downward, she queried, "How can this be? Can a person's life truly lack a past or a future? An existence sans origin or conclusion? A fault exists in your depiction. Can you rationalize it?" Draco gestured in front of the red line with his finger. The red line should extend as far as the blue, sharing the same history up to 22. Yet logically, the blue line's cessation at 32 is acceptable. Solely the red line has a future. Does that signify the blue line's cessation from 32 onward, that a future in blue is non-existent? Yes, McGonagall confirmed, though not entirely. You've noted that shared past up to 22 for your protagonist. Why then designate different colors? Is not the red line's pre-22 history blue as well? A wand tap later, the red line tilted, reconnecting to the blue at 22. What do you perceive of this? Viewing the lines, Draco felt an unease. A straight line cannot bend, Professor. The red line shouldn't diverge like that. He traced the rose figure along the true blue till 22, beyond which lay the slant. Its curve reminded him of his gnarled wand. It must straighten. Hence, it must align parallel to the blue line again. But if they share the blue past, the red line won't be straight except it overlaps the blue line beyond their shared past. McGonagall's wand flick sent the red once more extending straight from 22 to the desk's far rim, overlaying itself atop the blue past 22. So, you're implying there's only this one path? That the red line picks up where the blue one left off, and the blue that once existed here. Draco traced an imaginary path from 22 to 32, designating a spot for the blue line. If the red replaced the blue, is what came before it just gone? In essence, Mr. Malfoy, McGonagall clarified patiently, there's no past to return to. Only a single timeline exists, regardless of any alterations. To anyone not making these journeys, the timeline remains seamlessly intact. She gestured with her wand, turning everything a shade of purple, causing Draco's heart to flutter before the red and blue lines returned. The traveler, however, rewrites his own memories. But they weren't just fantasies, Draco pressed on. There was truly a blue line, wasn't there? Right here. He outlined the imagined path he constructed on the table. It can't just vanish into thin air, or can it? You're right again, Mr. Malfoy. The diagram we see is incomplete. Ensuring she had his focus, McGonagall extended the blue line from 22 to 32 above the red one, allowing it to levitate for clarity. Then, she transformed it and set it circling around the figurine's head, much like a halo. This signifies where the traveler's past would be, I'd assume. The sole testimony of a former reality is to be found only within the traveler's recollection. Merely a memory, Draco murmured. So, once the traveler steps back in time, he essentially erases his own past? Does he have to relive those years? And, without a destination to return to, he must press on? Is that why there's only a single timeline left? Indeed, according to classical models of limited time travel, McGonagall continued, based on such premises. She sketched another diagram using charmed replicas, this time with just one blue line and a pink figure. Drawing lines to depict noon and midnight, she had the figure walk the span from the start of the line, cross noon, and reach midnight. Here the traveler proceeds backwards. She placed her wand on the pink figure at midnight and duplicated him, returning both to noon. Now we face a situation at noon where two of our characters exist simultaneously, both from noon to midnight, the original who journeyed through the timeline initially, and the time traveler accompanying for the second run. At midnight, we face a dilemma, do we not? Should both continue forth perpetually? No. We arrive at the moment where the original makes the choice to time travel. The original vanishes, traveling back to noon, leaving the time traveler to proceed solo. From noon to midnight, it's an ongoing loop, ending with just one individual persisting when the traveler departs for time travel. Notice anything different in this illustration compared to our initial scenario? Two figures, Draco remarked, instead of just one. Correct, McGonagall affirmed with a nod. Time travel, as we comprehend it, fabricates these closed cycles where one individual duplicates, allowing dual presence. This, however, necessitates two distinct bodies. Let us examine this concept minus the division. She had the pink figure move from noon to midnight, then transported it back from midnight to noon. If solely the mind travels, and there's but one form, the loop cannot establish itself. Hence, no loop manifests. Just this. She maneuvered that solitary figure from midnight to noon, extending past to the desk's edge. What transpired between noon and midnight the first time exists only as a memory to the traveler. This mental loop is in the traveler's mind, irreversible, at least within the version of reality accessible to the traveler. Discussions about alternative realities or dimensions would extend beyond current wizarding capabilities as far as my awareness goes. Draco held the figure with the unused blue line delicately suspended over its head. Accepting alternate dimensions, there's a single form, so no loop forms and no prior future exists for return. McGonagall gave an affirming nod. It's not about altering the past. Everything unfolds uniquely significant for everyone here, save for the traveler. Draco guided the figure over the red pathway as if in a trance, then resumed his note-taking. Otherwise, he'd be tempted to yell out loud. So, there's no past to mess up for the traveler, right? Such is my assumption, Mr. Malfoy, McGonagall exhaled. It's logical for mental time travel to initiate and conclude within the mind itself. True, the red line would inherently share similarities with the blue. Countless individuals, dynamics, and events would theoretically operate under identical motivations and foundational mechanisms as they did on the blue line. Their core nature likely remains unmodified. Solely the traveler undergoes transformation, purely within the mind. Any divergences from his initial memories would stem solely from changed actions and impacts the modified traveler introduces into the world. It's akin to what Muggles reference as the butterfly effect. Draco dutifully copied her discourse on the phenomenon, feeling his mind and body gradually desensitize. Thus, what should the traveler do ideally? Suppose his journey was accidental, not intentional, and he desires his current life to align with these memories? Should the butterfly coordinate its wing flaps precisely alike? That's one perspective, McGonagall mused thoughtfully, the passive viewpoint, if you will. Influencing minimal change, depending on the traveler's ability to perfectly recall and replicate his memories. Even the smallest alterations can trigger substantial waves. The opposing, proactive stance suggests pursuing goals not by retracing remembered accomplishments, but by engaging current strategies deemed most fruitful. Essentially acting as if the memory never exists, progressively diminishing its value. Is this what you were hoping for, Mr. Malfoy?
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this chapter, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated with more audiobooks. Happy listening!